So now that we know how to measure bias, we can plot out all of our gender-neutral words and then just measure the distance between to one of these vectors. But because of the nature of natural language and our data set, we can't just rely on two specific words to represent maleness and or femaleness. For example, the frequency of these words and how often they appear might influence their vector values. And because of things like polymorphism, certain words will have multiple meanings. For example, man could be used to represent maleness in the corpus, or it could also be used as an exclamation, as in, oh man. So we can't just rely on a single pair of words to represent gender. So how we did this is we came up with a list of gendered pairs, and these are words that are similar in meaning, but only differing in the gender that they encode. And we used this to represent the general gender direction of the corpus. So for example, here the word mother and father are the same word for parent, but only differ in the gender that they're representing. So the idea here is if we take the vector for each of these gendered pairs, and we can kind of mush them together so they represent femaleness and maleness, then we would have a much more solid representation of gender in the training data. And how we mathematically did that is we took the vector for these gendered pairs and we performed a principal component analysis on them. The idea being, since these words are highly gendered and they deal with the basic idea of gender, the first principal component should encode for the themes of general gender. And we labeled these as G to represent our gender direction. So the next step is we went through our corpus and we came up with a list of all the gender-neutral profession words that were devoid of gender and shouldn't have any lineage of maleness or femaleness. And we tried to see the cosine similarity between each of these words and our gender vector. As you can see, for most of the profession words that were supposed to be gender neutral, they were found to be leaning towards the male gender, notably except for the profession for nurse, a maid, and janitor, and a few other outliers. Most professions were strongly associated with male. And this is one way of measuring bias in your corpus. This methodology could be extended for you to maybe measure along racial lines or see biases when it comes to religion or anything. It doesn't have to be constrained to just a binary spectrum. And I think this could be used as an indication of what could happen if any of these models is blindly used in any other real-world applications, which would have real-world consequences to real people. So thank you for joining me for this, and that is all, and I'll see you in the next video.